Warning: this video contains details of real crime cases. Watch with caution. If you're a fan of true crime investigations and want to follow more stories like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any case. Can you imagine what it is like for a person to poison his own wife to live a lustful affair with his own stepdaughter? What you're about to hear sounds like something out of a horror novel, but it's a true story. In the quiet suburb of Brookline, Massachusetts, a tragedy was about to unfold that would shake the community to its core. At the center of this story was Sarah Thompson, a 48-year-old woman known for her warm smile and infectious laughter. Sarah was more than just a friendly face in the neighborhood. She was a pillar of the community, always ready with a kind word or a batch of her famous chocolate chip cookies. Sarah's life seemed picture-perfect from the outside. She lived in a charming colonial-style house on Beacon Street, its well-manicured lawn a testament to her attention to detail. Her husband, Eric Thompson, was 16 years her junior, a fact that raised eyebrows when they first married, but had since become just another quirk in the tapestry of Brookline's diverse community. The Thompson household was completed by Sarah's daughter from a previous marriage, Emily Parker. At 19, Emily was a bright-eyed pre-med student at nearby Boston University, carrying the torch of her mother's compassionate nature into a promising future in healthcare. Sarah couldn't have been prouder, supporting Emily's dreams with the same fervor she applied to everything in life. Sarah's passion for cooking was legendary among her friends and neighbors. Her kitchen was always filled with the aroma of baking cookies or simmering soups, a reflection of her nurturing spirit. In the weeks leading up to her untimely death, Sarah had been excitedly planning a family trip to Disney World. It was to be a celebration of Emily's academic achievements and a chance for the family to reconnect amidst their busy lives. Brookline, with its tree-lined streets and mix of historic and modern architecture, provided the backdrop for the Thompsons' life. Known for its excellent schools and proximity to Boston, the town attracted a diverse population of academics, professionals, and artists. The community prided itself on its progressive values and strong sense of civic engagement, with Sarah often at the forefront of local initiatives and volunteer efforts. On the morning of April 17, 2019, Brookline awoke to a spring day full of promise. Joggers made their way along the Emerald Necklace Park system, while commuters rushed to catch the Green Line into the city. It was a day like any other, until it wasn't. As the community went about its morning routines, unaware of the tragedy unfolding on Beacon Street, Sarah Thompson's life was cut short in the very home she had filled with so much love and laughter. The news of Sarah's death would soon ripple through Brookline, from the bustling Coolidge Corner to the quiet residential streets. Neighbors who had waved to Sarah just days before found themselves grappling with the shocking reality that she was gone. The Thompson house, once a symbol of domestic bliss, became the focal point of a mystery that would unravel the facade of suburban tranquility. As police cars and ambulances converged on the scene, the community held its collective breath. Sarah Thompson's story was far from over. In fact, it was about to captivate not just Brookline, but the entire nation as the details of her life and death came to light. On the morning of April 17, 2019, the tranquil neighborhood of Beacon Street in Brookline was shattered by a horrifying discovery. At approximately 8:30 a.m., Emily Parker descended the stairs of her family home, expecting to find her mother, Sarah Thompson, preparing breakfast as she did every morning. Instead, she was met with a scene that would haunt her for years to come. Sarah lay motionless on the kitchen floor, her body sprawled at an unnatural angle. Beside her, a can of Diet Coke, her favorite drink, had spilled its contents across the pristine tiles. Emily's world collapsed in that instant. With trembling hands, she reached for her phone and dialed 911, her voice breaking as she pleaded for help between sobs. The response was swift. Within minutes, the quiet street was filled with the wail of sirens as emergency vehicles converged on the Thompson residence. Paramedics rushed into the house, but their efforts were in vain. Sarah Thompson was pronounced dead at the scene. As the news spread, neighbors emerged from their homes, forming small clusters on their lawns, whispering in hushed tones. The yellow police tape that soon encircled the property stood in stark contrast to the blooming spring flowers in Sarah's carefully tended garden. Detective James Holloway of the Brookline Police Department took charge of the scene. Known for his methodical approach and keen eye for detail, Holloway immediately sensed that something was amiss. The house showed no signs of forced entry, and nothing appeared to be stolen. The kitchen, save for the area immediately surrounding Sarah's body, was immaculate, a testament to her orderly nature. As Holloway surveyed the scene, his attention was drawn to the Diet Coke can. It was only half empty, yet Sarah lay as if she had collapsed mid-sip. The detective's instincts, honed by years on the force, told him this was no ordinary accident or health-related incident. Bag the can, Holloway instructed his team, and get samples from the floor and countertops. His eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail, from the family photos on the refrigerator to the stack of mail on the counter. Each item could potentially hold the key to unraveling the mystery of Sarah Thompson's death. As the crime scene technicians went about their work, photographing and collecting evidence, Holloway turned his attention to the family. Emily, still in shock, was being comforted by a neighbor on the front porch. Eric Thompson, Sarah's husband, had been notified and was en route from his office in downtown Boston. Holloway knew that the next few hours would be crucial. He ordered a full autopsy to determine the cause of death and began organizing interviews with family members, friends, and neighbors. In cases like these, time was of the essence, and every minute that passed could mean vital evidence lost or memories faded. As the day wore on, the initial shock gave way to a growing sense of unease in the community. Brookline, accustomed to feeling safe and insulated from the crimes that plagued bigger cities, now faced the possibility that something sinister had occurred in their midst. The death of Sarah Thompson was no longer just a tragedy. It was now the centerpiece of a mystery that would consume the town and challenge everything they thought they knew about their neighbors and themselves. As the sun rose on Brookline the day after Sarah Thompson's death, the community awoke to a new reality. The once quiet suburb was now the center of a rapidly unfolding investigation that would reveal dark secrets hidden beneath its peaceful facade. The breakthrough came swiftly and shockingly. The medical examiner's report landed on Detective Holloway's desk with a thud that seemed to echo through the precinct. Sarah Thompson's cause of death: cyanide poisoning. The toxin had been found in trace amounts in the Diet Coke can recovered from the scene. What had appeared to be a possible accident or natural death was now unequivocally a homicide, premeditated and coldly executed. With this revelation, the investigation shifted into high gear. The Thompson home, previously released back to the family, was once again swarming with forensic teams. Every inch of the property was scrutinized, from the garden shed to the attic, in search of the source of the poison. Detective Holloway's first interviewee was Eric Thompson, Sarah's husband. Eric, a software engineer with a local tech startup, presented a calm exterior that belied the gravity of the situation. He claimed to have been at work at the time of Sarah's death, an alibi that was quickly verified. However, as Holloway dug deeper, cracks began to appear in Eric's polished veneer. Financial records revealed that Eric had recently taken out a substantial life insurance policy on Sarah. Moreover, his colleagues reported that he had been distracted at work, often taking long, private phone calls. But it was the discovery on Eric's work computer that sent shockwaves through the investigation team. A browser history filled with searches about cyanide, its effects, and methods of procurement. As suspicion grew around Eric, attention also turned to Emily Parker, Sarah's daughter. Initial interviews painted a picture of a devoted daughter with a bright future ahead of her. However, as investigators delved into Emily's life, they uncovered a web of complexities. Her relationship with her stepfather, Eric, was more strained than initially reported. Friends spoke of heated arguments and tension in the household, particularly surrounding Emily's college expenses and her biological father's continued involvement in her life. The investigation took another turn when Sarah's best friend, Lisa Goldstein, came forward with startling information. Lisa revealed that she had been engaged in an affair with Eric Thompson for the past 6 months. Torn between loyalty to her deceased friend and fear of becoming implicated in the crime, Lisa provided details that painted a picture of a marriage in turmoil and a man potentially driven to desperate measures. As the investigation progressed, the quiet streets of Brookline became a hotbed of speculation and fear. Neighbors who had known the Thompsons for years found themselves questioning every interaction, every overheard argument. The local coffee shops and supermarket aisles buzzed with theories and whispered accusations. Detective Holloway and his team worked tirelessly, following every lead and examining every piece of evidence. The case that had started with a woman found dead in her kitchen had evolved into a complex web of relationships, hidden motives, and buried secrets. As the investigation entered its second week, the pressure mounted on the Brookline Police Department to make an arrest. The community demanded answers, the media circled like vultures, and somewhere, perhaps closer than anyone realized, a killer walked free, watching as the investigation unfolded around them. As the investigation into Sarah Thompson's murder entered its third week, the case took a dramatic turn that would shock the Brookline community to its core. The breakthrough came not from a witness statement or a forensic discovery, but from the depths of the digital world that had become an integral part of modern life. Detective Holloway had ordered a more thorough examination of Eric Thompson's electronic devices. It was during this deep dive that digital forensics expert, Dr. Amelia Chun, made a chilling discovery. Hidden in the encrypted recesses of Eric's personal laptop was a trove of disturbing content. Hundreds of photographs of Emily Parker, Sarah's daughter, taken without her knowledge. The images ranged from innocent shots of Emily going about her daily life to more intimate moments that no stepfather should have captured. This digital evidence painted a picture of a man consumed by an inappropriate and dangerous obsession with his stepdaughter. The timestamps on the photos stretched back months, even years, suggesting a long-term pattern of behavior that had gone undetected by both Sarah and Emily. Confronted with this evidence, Eric Thompson's carefully constructed facade crumbled. In a tense interrogation room at the Brookline Police Department, he confessed to the murder of his wife. His motive, he claimed, was to remove the obstacle between himself and Emily. The cyanide, he revealed, had been purchased on the dark web using cryptocurrency, leaving no easily traceable financial records. The confession sent shockwaves through the investigation team and the community at large. Emily Parker, upon learning of her stepfather's obsession and actions, was devastated. The young woman who had been preparing for a career in medicine now found herself at the center of a tragedy that would alter the course of her life forever. As news of the arrest spread, the quiet streets of Brookline once again filled with murmurs and disbelief. Neighbors who had known Eric as a charming, if somewhat reserved, member of the community now struggled to reconcile that image with the disturbed individual revealed by the investigation. The case against Eric Thompson was strong, but it wasn't just the legal proceedings that captivated public attention. The story of Sarah Thompson's murder became a cautionary tale about the hidden dangers that can lurk within seemingly perfect families. It sparked conversations about trust, privacy, and the sometimes blurred lines in blended families. Local and national media descended upon Brookline, turning the quaint suburb into the backdrop for countless news reports and true crime specials. The Thompson house on Beacon Street, once a symbol of suburban tranquility, now stood as a grim reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. For Detective Holloway and his team, the case was far from closed. While they had their confession and a wealth of evidence, there were still loose ends to tie up. They needed to determine if anyone else had known about Eric's obsession or had inadvertently aided in his plans. The affair with Lisa Goldstein, while not directly related to the murder, added another layer of complexity to the case. As the legal proceedings against Eric Thompson began, the community of Brookline was left to grapple with the aftermath of a crime that had shattered their sense of security and challenged their perceptions of those around them. The quiet suburb had been forever changed, and the ripple effects of Sarah Thompson's murder would be felt for years to come. The trial of Eric Thompson began on a crisp autumn morning, 6 months after Sarah Thompson's murder had shaken the community of Brookline to its core. The Norfolk County Courthouse, a stately building in nearby Dedham, became the focal point of intense media scrutiny and public attention. Over the course of 3 weeks, the prosecution methodically laid out its case against Eric Thompson. The evidence was damning. The cyanide-laced Diet Coke, the incriminating search history, the hidden cache of photographs, and Eric's own confession. The defense, grasping at straws, attempted to paint Eric as a man driven to temporary insanity by an obsession he couldn't control. Emily Parker, still reeling from the dual trauma of losing her mother and discovering her stepfather's betrayal, took the stand. Her testimony, delivered with a mix of grief and resolve, left many in the courtroom in tears. She spoke of her mother's kindness, her own shattered trust, and the future that had been stolen from her family. After just 2 days of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. The judge, citing the premeditated nature of the crime and the betrayal of family trust, sentenced Eric Thompson to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As Eric was led away in handcuffs, the Brookline community breathed a collective sigh of relief. Justice had been served, but the scars left by the tragedy ran deep. In the months that followed, Brookline struggled to return to normalcy. The Thompson house on Beacon Street stood empty, a silent reminder of the lives that had been destroyed. Eventually, it was sold, the proceeds going to a trust for Emily's education and a foundation established in Sarah's memory. Emily Parker, showing remarkable resilience, returned to her studies at Boston University. With the support of counseling and her mother's friends, she found the strength to continue pursuing her dream of becoming a doctor. Her experiences led her to specialize in trauma counseling, hoping to help others who had faced similar tragedies. Lisa Goldstein, consumed by guilt over her affair with Eric, moved away from Brookline. Her last act before leaving was to make a substantial donation to Sarah's foundation, a gesture of atonement that did little to ease her conscience but provided some comfort to those left behind. Detective James Holloway, hailed as a hero for solving the case, found himself grappling with the darker aspects of human nature he had encountered. The case prompted him to become an advocate for better resources in identifying and preventing domestic abuse and hidden family traumas. The community of Brookline, once known for its idyllic suburban life, was forever changed. Neighborhood watch programs sprang up, and community meetings focused on fostering open communication and support networks. The tragedy had exposed the vulnerabilities that can exist behind closed doors, even in the most seemingly perfect neighborhoods. As years passed, the story of Sarah Thompson's murder became a cautionary tale, studied in criminology classes and discussed in true crime podcasts. It served as a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that the greatest dangers sometimes lie closest to home. For those who knew Sarah, her memory lived on not in the tragic circumstances of her death, but in the kindness she had shown in life. Her famous chocolate chip cookies became a symbol of community and caring, with an annual bake sale held in her honor to raise funds for victims of domestic violence. In the end, the Sarah Thompson case left an indelible mark on Brookline and beyond, a tragedy that prompted soul-searching, fostered community bonds, and served as a catalyst for change in how society views and addresses the complex dynamics of family life. 5 years after the tragic murder of Sarah Thompson, the quiet suburb of Brookline had undergone a profound transformation. The case that had once dominated headlines and shattered the community's sense of security had become a somber chapter in the town's history, its impact still reverberating through the lives of those involved. On a crisp autumn morning, much like the day of Sarah's death, a small gathering assembled in Lars Anderson Park. It was the annual Sarah Thompson Memorial Walk, an event that had grown from a handful of mourners to hundreds of participants from across the state. The walk, organized by Emily Parker, had become a symbol of resilience and a call to action against domestic violence and hidden family traumas. Emily, now Dr. Emily Parker, stood before the crowd, her face a testament to both the pain she had endured and the strength she had found. "My mother's death was a tragedy," she began, her voice steady and clear. "But from that tragedy, we have built something meaningful. Today, we walk not just in remembrance, but in hope for a future where no family has to endure what ours did." The Sarah Thompson Foundation, born from the proceeds of the family home sale, had become a beacon of hope for victims of domestic abuse. It funded counseling services, supported legal aid for those seeking to escape dangerous situations, and sponsored research into the early detection of familial abuse patterns. The foundation's work had already been credited with saving countless lives and bringing healing to shattered families. Detective James Holloway, now retired from the Brookline Police Department, watched from the sidelines. The Thompson case had been the defining moment of his career, prompting him to become an outspoken advocate for better training in recognizing and addressing domestic issues. His efforts had led to significant changes in how law enforcement approached family-related crimes, not just in Brookline but across the state. The community of Brookline itself had undergone a metamorphosis. The tragedy had stripped away the veneer of suburban perfection, revealing the vulnerabilities that can exist in any neighborhood. In its place grew a more vigilant, more compassionate community. Neighbors looked out for one another with newfound awareness, and community programs flourished, aimed at fostering open communication and support networks. As the walk began, participants passed by the former Thompson House on Beacon Street. The new owners had embraced its history, turning the front yard into a small memorial garden. A plaque, nestled among blooming flowers, bore Sarah's favorite quote, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." It served as a poignant reminder of the woman whose life had been cut short and the lasting impact of her gentle spirit. The Sarah Thompson case had become more than just a tragic story or a cautionary tale. It had evolved into a catalyst for change, a rallying cry for those determined to address the hidden dangers that can lurk within families and communities. From the ashes of tragedy, a movement had risen, one dedicated to awareness, prevention, and healing. As the walk concluded and the participants gathered for a moment of silence, the air was filled not just with sorrow for what had been lost, but with determination for what could be gained. The legacy of Sarah Thompson, once defined by her tragic end, had been reclaimed. Now, it stood as a beacon of hope, a call to action, and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss. In Brookline and beyond, the ripples of change continued to spread, touching lives and transforming communities, a lasting tribute to a life that, though cut short, had sparked a movement that would endure for generations to come.